Ready or Not features a variety of submachine guns. The question is, which ones are the best? Today, we'll be ranking all the submachine guns in Ready or Not from F to S tier. Submachine guns are an interesting weapon category in Ready or Not. Most fire smaller calibers, either pistol calibers or specially designed cartridges. And unlike any other weapon category, these firearms are meant to be used in bursts of full auto. In Ready or Not, I don't like using full auto. Many situations require you to be precise with your shots. Using full auto can compromise your accuracy, and at worst, get someone innocent killed.
Bruh.
But submachine guns do have their place, mostly in very small maps where it becomes harder to use longer weapons. Again, this list is not a statement of fact. If a gun you like isn't in S tier, that doesn't mean it's bad. This list is just my opinion. I'll be ranking the submachine guns based on a few things. How effective they are against suspects, especially with body armor. What kind of attachments the weapons can equip. Magazine capacity. How controllable the gun is on full auto. And of course, how cool the gun looks. One more thing. I know the P90 and MP7 are technically personal defense weapons, and not submachine guns. But for convenience sake, I'll be including them in this list. So, let's begin. Starting us off, we have the MP9, a submachine gun designed by the Swiss company B&T. Its compact body makes it ideal for concealment. In-game, it's one of the shortest primary weapons, making it very easy to move around in tight spaces. It also has the rail space to attach a flashlight or laser, and its barrel accommodates a proprietary suppressor. Even fully kitted out, the weapon is fairly easy to move around with. However, its small size makes the weapon somewhat difficult to control in full auto. 9mm also isn't the greatest against body armor. However, against someone without armor, 9mm will be very effective. B tier. Next, we have another gun by B&T, the SPC. It's another 9mm submachine gun, but having controls more in line with the AR-15. Its history is interesting. A police agency in Europe requested a 9mm carbine with the handling features and ergonomics of the AR-15 platform. The result was the SPC. Alongside AR controls, it also has the ability to accept Glock magazines, and most interestingly, a hydraulic buffer system that is said to reduce recoil. In-game, the reduced recoil is noticeable in semi-auto. However, it's a 9mm submachine gun, so I want to use it in full auto bursts. But in full auto, the rate of fire is so high that any recoil mitigation system is nullified. The M-LOK handguard allows the mounting of any attachment you wish, and its short length makes the overall gun small and easy to maneuver. However, it's still a 9mm submachine gun, so it struggles against armor. Because it's harder to use in full auto, while being a 9mm submachine gun, the SPC goes into C tier. Our next gun is the P90. Anyone who has played any shooter in the past 15 years has seen this gun. Designed by Belgian company FN, its most notable features are its 50-round mags and its unique 5.7x28 round. The P90, 5.7 pistol, and the 5.7x28 round were all developed in conjunction by FN in response to a NATO request for a 9mm replacement. The requirements for the replacement stipulated that the bullet needed to have greater range, accuracy, and terminal ballistics than 9mm, and also be capable of penetrating body armor. After ballistic testing, and a long delay, the 5.7x28 round was accepted as a standard NATO round in 2021. Since its creation, there have been a number of firearms made to use the 5.7 round, but none are as iconic as the P90. In the United States alone, the P90 is used by over 200 law enforcement agencies, including the US Secret Service. In-game, the P90 is a very compact weapon and does well against body armor, especially on full auto. It also has a rail space for any attachment you would want. However, There's one thing about the P90 in Ready or Not that irritates me. In real life, P90 mags are translucent and lets you see how many rounds you have left. In Ready or Not, they are opaque. It's not a huge deal, but it does annoy me. However, given its huge magazine size and effectiveness against armor, the P90 goes into S tier. Next on our list is the MP5 A3. The MP5 might be the most popular submachine gun in the world. It certainly is among law enforcement. The MP5 is a 9mm submachine gun designed by the German company H&K. It would be easier to list law enforcement agencies that don't have the MP5 in their arsenal. But this wasn't always the case. The MP5 was first adopted by German military and law enforcement in the 1960s, but its real claim to fame was Operation Nimrod. In 1980, British SAS forces stormed the Iranian embassy in London, killing terrorists and saving lives. The gun they used was, of course, the MP5. Once that happened, everyone wanted one. In-game, the MP5 A3 features a collapsing buttstock and an aftermarket railed handguard for every accessory you could want. It also has less recoil, due to the way the gun functions. Most 9mm submachine guns operate on a direct blowback design. That is, the gas pressure from the round fired pushes directly on the bolt to cycle the next round. This is a reliable system, but also generates more recoil. In some cases, even more than a rifle. The MP5 uses what's called a roller-delayed blowback system. In the MP5, gas pressure pushes on the bolt, but rollers prevent the bolt from cycling until the bullet has completely left the barrel. This means that the MP5 has less recoil on full auto, and this is reflected in game. The MP5 A3 has significantly lower recoil than the other direct blowback 9mm submachine guns in game. And of course, the MP5 has the best empty reload in the game. Yes, it's relatively slow. Yes, it feels impractical, but it's undoubtedly very cool. The MP5 is longer than other submachine guns, making it a bit harder to maneuver, and as a 9mm submachine gun, it'll struggle against body armor, but its looks are unmatched, and it's very controllable in full auto. For these reasons, the MP5 A3 goes into A tier. As time passed, some agencies requested a submachine gun chambered in something larger than 9mm. Enter the MP5-10. For all intents and purposes, the MP5-10 is simply an MP5 chambered in 10mm auto. The other main difference is that the MP5-10 features a bolt hold open and release. This makes empty reloads faster, though less cool than its 9mm counterpart. In-game, the MP5-10 has access to all the accessories the MP5 A3 does. It's also one of the few guns in Ready or Not to feature a burst mode. The 10mm round is controllable in full auto, but isn't very effective against body armor. The increased damage of 10mm isn't significant for unarmored targets, making the trade-off of higher recoil questionable. An MP5 that has higher recoil, but no practical use for its higher damage, means that the MP5-10 goes into B tier. The MP5 is a very high quality firearm, but with that comes one significant drawback. It's expensive. The H&K UMP45 was created to be a lighter and cheaper successor to the MP5. It forgoes a roller-delayed blowback system in the MP5 for the simple and cheaper direct blowback system. Its body is primarily made out of polymer, and as its name suggests, it's chambered in 45 ACP. Due to the availability of 45 ACP in the United States, and a belief at the time that 45 ACP was more effective against unarmored targets than 9mm, many American military and law enforcement units adopted the weapon. In-game, the UMP45 can mount any attachment you need. It also has a burst function, and is surprisingly controllable on full auto. The UMP45 is also one of the few guns in the game that has the Trijicon SRS optic available, meaning you can LARP as your favorite hitman from Sicario. The 45 round does not do well against armor, but is very effective against unarmored targets. However, The larger round means that the gun's magazines only hold 25 rounds, meaning you'll have less rounds at your disposal. For these reasons, the UMP45 goes into B tier. The UMP also has a 9mm option. It also uses a direct blowback system and has the same suite of attachments as the UMP45. Due to its lower rate of fire, the UMP9 is actually relatively controllable in full auto. However, I don't think this gun looks as cool as the UMP45. So, the UMP9 goes into B tier. Next is the MP7. This gun has become a fan favorite of many, and for good reason. When NATO requested a 9mm replacement, the MP7 and its 4.6x30 round were the main competitors to FN's P90. The 4.630 was designed to meet the NATO requirements, better ballistic performance, and the ability to defeat Kevlar body armor. While the 5.7x28 round was eventually adopted, the 4.6x30 is still a good round. The MP7 has been adopted by some interesting organizations over the years, including the Navy SEALs and the Pope's Swiss Guard. In-game, the MP7 has every accessory you need and is very controllable on full auto. It also does quite well against body armor, especially on full auto. The MP7 also has 40 round mags, so you can make those full auto bursts last that much longer. And most importantly, the MP7 is one of the best looking guns in the game. It is easily a S tier weapon.
There's an active stabbing. How do you plan to deal with the situation?
I have an MP7.
Next up is the SIG MPX. In many ways, this gun is the culmination of all previous 9mm SMGs into one gun. Its controls follow the AR-15 pattern, making it very easy to use. These include the mag release and bolt catch, making it very fast to reload. It uses a proprietary short stroke piston system, which reduces recoil, and its M-lock and rails make the gun ready for any attachment you would want. All these features make the gun sound ideal for law enforcement, but interestingly, it hasn't seen much use in that role. Where the SIG MPX has seen widespread adoption is with competition shooters. When it comes to shooting pistol caliber carbine competitions, you'd be hard pressed to choose a better option than the MPX. In-game, the MPX is a shortened variant, making it easier to use in tight spaces. It's also very controllable on full auto, and the reloads are fast. It is suited for competition use after all. Of all the 9mm submachine gun options in Ready or Not, the MPX is the most practical. So, it goes into A tier. Last, but not least, is the MP5 A2. In-game, it's functionally identical to the MP5 A3. It's a controllable full auto 9mm submachine gun, but with slightly less attachments available. By all accounts, there's nothing special about this weapon, and should rank lower than the MP5 A3. However, if that's what you assumed, you'd be wrong. The MP5 A2 can equip a flashlight, but rather than having a light attached to a rail, this MP5 instead uses the Surefire handguard with a built-in flashlight. By today's standards, this light isn't that bright, and isn't super practical, but it looks very cool. In fact, I'd say that the MP5 with the Surefire handguard is not only the best looking submachine gun, but the best looking gun in all of Ready or Not. For its extremely good looks, the MP5 A2 easily earns its spot in S tier. So, that's all the submachine guns in Ready or Not. They're fun to use, and on the right maps can be very effective. Low recoil and full auto are always a great combo, especially when using them against the worst kind of people. Besides, submachine guns, especially the MP5s, are the coolest looking guns in the game. So, in the spirit of the best Christmas movie ever made, take an MP5 and use it to wipe out some criminals.